What happens when the woman you've ignored, cleaning these halls for a decade and a half, is actually the one who owns the place? Picture this just before dawn, the lights are still off, in an Avex Tech's gleaming lobby. Maria Alvarez, dressed in a faded janitorial uniform, pushes her squeaky mop cart past glass walled conference rooms, where executives will soon gather. Nobody sees her. Nobody hears her. But today, everything changes in mere moments. She'll stride into the boardroom, demand a vote of no confidence, and fire the CEO, who never even knew her name. Before you witness Maria's epic takedown of corporate arrogance, hit subscribe and ring the bell. This is the moment respect crushes entitlement. Drop scene in the comments if you stand for justice over prejudice. Stay tuned, because in just a few minutes, a cleaning lady will expose the CEO's lies and rewrite the rules of power. Maria Alvarez isn't just any overnight cleaner pushing a mop cart through these halls. She's the silent force behind every detail of Innovex Tech. 15 years ago, she and her husband Javier poured their savings into this building's predecessor, a modest tech startup scribbled on napkins at a diner. Javier had the drive, hustling freight routes across Texas to secure supply chains. Maria had the mind breaking down complex problems in her head and reassembling solutions no one else saw. When Javier died in an accident, she inherited not only his love, but his ownership stake quietly, legally, irrevocably. Now it's 5:15 a.m. in downtown Austin. Streetlights still hum overhead as Maria's sedan glides past shuttered storefronts and sleeper buses. She wears a uniform so nondescript you'd mistake her for any night shift temp, faded, blue jumpsuit, scuffed sneakers, her dark hair tucked under a simple cap. No badge on display, no title to announce, instead a plain plastic name tag, Maria Cleaning Services. She slides into a spot labeled employee, only then steps out into the brisk Texas air, her breath curling in front of her. Inside Innovex Tech's lobby is a cry of high-end design: 20-foot ceilings, polished limestone floors, suspended LED sculptures that glow like constellations. A massive proprietary sculpture by local artists, something Maria greenlit during the last renovation, hovers above, casting prismatic patterns on the walls. The reception desk gleams, backed by a wall of brushed aluminum, emblazoned with Innovex Tech in chrome letters Maria approved in every mock-up. She greets the night security guard with a nod. He barely glances back and wheels her cart toward the elevators. Past the mahogany-paneled conference rooms, she hears early footsteps, junior executives already trading gossip about who will close the next big deal. She passes the cafe lights, off chairs, stacked on tables, coffee machines, hissing residual steam. Then the research wing, where cleaning here means wiping away the fingerprints from last night's prototype demos before the lab technicians arrive. Maria works methodically, floor by floor, her rag tucked into her pocket like a silent witness. By 6 a.m., she reaches the 10th floor executive corridor where the real power lives. Glass doors behind her reflect her silhouette, a lone figure in uniform pushing a cart covered in scouring pads. That corridor is quieter, too quiet. Inside the boardroom beyond the frosted glass, she'll soon take her seat. But right now, she notices details no one else will. The scuff on the corner of the credenza she insisted be replaced, the faint smudge of someone's cuff on the conference table. Smudges she's wiped away hundreds of times. Maria keeps her eyes forward. She doesn't linger. Instead, she heads to her locker room, energizes with a sip of black coffee from the break room stash, and swaps her uniform jacket for a thin navy blazer she's folded under her mop bucket. By 7 a.m., she's back in the lobby, still in work boots, but now wearing the aura of someone who belongs here. Staff who dismissed her earlier suddenly step aside. Her presence shifts the room's energy. But this morning isn't about incremental respect. It's the culmination of years gathering proof. She's memorized the executive roster, logged incident reports on her phone, and recorded offhand comments from the CEO about useless legacy staff. Tonight, she'll unleash every piece of evidence, bonus statements showing the CEO awarded himself $75,000 while freezing janitorial pay safety reports of unaddressed hazards. She discovered walking the halls HR logs revealing a pattern of bias in front desk assignments. For now, though, she smiles politely at the receptionist, Claire, who barely nods back. Maria's voice is calm, her tone precise. "Good morning," she says just loud enough. "I'm here for the 10 a.m. shareholder briefing." Claire glances at her badge and blinks. No badge. But then Maria places a folder on the desk. Its cover reads, "Maria Alvarez, majority shareholder." Claire's fingers hover, trembling. Suddenly, the lobby feels charged like the moment before a storm breaks. But Maria doesn't storm in. She turns away and walks toward the cafe where attending executives will gather for pastries, letting her name spread in whispers. And behind her, the floodgates are about to open. 15 years of invisible labor of wiping away secrets have led to this, the unassuming cleaner revealing she's the true owner, ready to fire the CEO and rewrite the rules of power in this gilded tower. The question now isn't whether Claire or any of the board members will believe her, it's whether they'll survive the reckoning she's about to deliver. Maria approached the reception desk just after 7:15 a.m., mop cart trailing behind her like a loyal hound. She offered her routine greeting. "Good morning, Claire. I'm checking in for the 10 a.m. shareholder briefing." Claire glanced up, registering the faded uniform and plastic name tag, then gave a curt shake of the head. "I'm sorry, Maria, but this morning's meetings are by invitation only. You'll need to wait in the cafe until after 9. Her voice was polite, but dismissive, exactly the tone Maria had heard 1,000 times before. Maria forced a small, patient smile. "Understood. Thank you," she said quietly, wheeling her cart toward a bench by the floor-to-ceiling windows. As Claire turned to greet the incoming COO and 2 venture capital guests, Maria settled in, adjusting her cap and letting the morning light wash over her. From this vantage point, she could see the line of executives filing past their designer bags and crisp suits, a sharp contrast to her scuffed sneakers and threadbare jumpsuit. Moments later, 2 senior VPs, Martin Gray and Heather Fulton, approached the coffee station. Their conversation floated across the lobby. "Can you believe they let the cleaning crew mingle with us now?" Martin scoffed, stirring his latte. "I heard she's still using the old access badge," Heather replied in a conspiratorial whisper. "If she's really an owner, you'd think she'd get proper credentials." "They're so cheap up top," Martin laughed. "Doesn't even matter how much we rake in. Some of us have to clean up their mistakes." Maria clenched her jaw, but didn't move. She'd heard worse. 15 years of masked insults and coded contempt whispered behind closed doors as she wiped away fingerprints on the elevator call button. But this morning was different today. She wasn't just the invisible mop pusher. She was the majority owner, and every degrading word was damning evidence. When Martin and Heather left, Maria rose and approached the desk again, this time, leaving her cart at the edge of the marble floor. Claire looked up, annoyance flickering in her eyes. "You again?" Maria's tone remained calm, authoritative. "Please check the corporate registry under Innovex Holdings. My name is listed as majority shareholder. I'd like confirmation of my invitation." Claire's fingers hovered above the keyboard, then tapped and clicked in slow motion. She glanced at Maria through narrowed eyes, as if gauging whether this was a prank. Finally, she shrugged. "Nothing here, Ms. Alvarez. You'll have to wait for the public sessions to begin." Behind Claire, the new Chief Marketing Officer Jeremy Lin strolled in and was greeted with a warm "Welcome back." "Mr. Lin, we've set your board packet on the side." As Jeremy collected his folder, Claire turned back to Maria with a rehearsed apology. "I'm sorry, Maria. I really don't see your name here." Maria's pulse quickened, but she stayed measured, remembering every detail she'd studied: the dated shareholder agreement, the notarized transfer documents, the distribution schedules filed in the county clerk's office. She touched her phone. "Claire," she said softly, "I'll wait in the cafe. But please know I've confirmed with Elena." In legal, my invitation is valid. Claire's lips pressed into a tight line. She offered no reply, instead beckoning Maria toward the corner cafe. Maria's shoulders lifted, and she exited in silence, each step magnifying the unspoken tension in the room. In the cafe, Maria found a seat at a window-side table. She watched through the glass as Claire ducked behind the reception desk to whisper with the assistant manager, Greg, whose face paled the moment he saw Maria's calm, unblinking stare. Maria sipped her coffee, bitter stale, but her mind raced. She slid from her pocket a slim notebook meticulously logged dates, Times quotes overheard in board meetings, HR incident reports noting the janitorial team as low priority, the CEO's private bonus statement showing a $75,000 self-awarded payout last quarter. Now that she had Claire's hesitation, she knew the next move was critical. She dialed Elena on Bluetooth. Elena, I need the final shareholder registry printout emailed to me, complete with timestamp audit trail and any amendments since 2005. And pull Wexler's compensation file versus janitorial wage records. I want the comparative data on my screen within 10 minutes. Elena's voice crackled through, on it. Expect it in 5. Maria ended the call and folded her hands over her notebook eyes, narrowing as she watched the cafe door. Every passing executive now skirted her table, some avoiding eye contact, others stealing quick looks as they ordered croissants and fruit parfaits. 5 minutes later, her phone buzzed with 3 attachments: a PDF of the shareholder register, an Excel sheet of wage disparities, and a time-stamped audit log showing Claire's workstation had accessed the 10 a.m. briefing schedule and then deliberately cleared the entry for Alvarez Maria. The implications were undeniable. Someone had used Claire's credentials to hide Maria's invitation. Maria stood placing her coffee down without a word and walked back toward the reception with deliberate poise. Claire looked up, startled. Here, Maria said, sliding her phone across the desk with the open PDF visible. The registry. My name is right there. And this, she tapped the wage gap chart, shows the janitorial team's average hourly rate versus executive bonuses. Claire's fingers trembled over the keyboard. In the background, Greg and the assistant manager gathered at the edge of the desk, their faces pale. Maria continued in a low, unhurried voice. And here's the audit log showing you removed my interview invitation from your view. She pressed send on an email that immediately pinged on Claire's screen, urgent CEO meeting access. Claire's composure cracked. She stuttered, I don't know what to say. Maria leaned forward. Apologies don't undo deliberate exclusion. I expect you to rectify this immediately. If you need to speak with legal or HR, I suggest you do it now. Claire nodded rapidly, eyes brimming with panic. She spun back to her computer, tapping keys frantically. Within seconds, she printed an official invitation letter, complete with board chair's signature. She extended it to Maria, words sticking in her throat. I'm so sorry, Ms. Alvarez. Your suite is on the agenda. Maria took the letter, folded it once, then addressed Claire directly. Thank you. Moving forward, I'll need your full cooperation. This meeting is about accountability. You'll be expected to contribute. With that, Maria turned and strode past the gathering crowd toward the executive elevators, leaving a stunned hush in her wake. As the doors closed, Maria exhaled. The first round of resistance had crumbled, but the deeper conflict awaited inside the boardroom: vindictive executives, corner office conspirators, and a CEO who still believed he held all the power. Today, she would prove otherwise, transforming every second of prejudice into unassailable proof and showing Innovex Tech that respect isn't optional. It's earned by every person who walks these halls, uniform or no uniform. A few moments after Maria's confrontation at the desk, Innovex's chief investor, Randall Cho, strode into the lobby. He paused at Claire's station, glanced at Maria's uniform, then turned his nose up in evident disdain. I need to catch the 10 a.m. briefing, he snapped. Claire swallowed and began to check her screen, but Maria stepped forward, voice calm yet carrying weight. Mr. Cho, if you'll follow me, Your seat is reserved in the boardroom. Randall's brow furrowed. Excuse me. Maria indicated the elevator bank with a nod. You'll find your credentials ready, and I'll personally escort you to the briefing. The investor hesitated, then allowed himself to be guided past his own CFO and head of strategic planning, who gaped as Maria led Randall toward the private elevator. Back at the reception desk, murmurs echoed. Claire and Greg exchanged horrified looks. The assistant manager hurried over, whispering into Claire's ear. We've lost control. She's everywhere. Meanwhile, Maria and Randall ascended. In the elevator, Randall cleared his throat awkwardly. You're part of cleaning staff? Maria gave a small wry smile. I'm also the majority shareholder, she replied quietly. He swallowed. I see. By 8:30 a.m., news of Maria's boarding pass for the briefing had traveled throughout the building. Upstairs, senior staff congregated outside the boardroom VPs of Product Finance HR, all whispering fiercely. Who let her in? This is a security breach. She's not on the list. No one dared approach. They felt the charge of her quiet authority. At 9:30 a.m., Maria paused outside her old locker room and exchanged her jumpsuit cap for a sleek navy blazer. She straightened her posture, no mop cart in sight, and pressed her hand against the glass door of the boardroom. Inside, she heard CEO Victor Bramwell dictating his opening remarks to the company secretary, and let's not forget to thank our cleaning crew for their service, though I'm not sure what they actually do. The secretary smiled nervously. Maria inhaled sharply and entered without knocking. Head snapped toward her. Bramwell's mouth fell open. Maria's voice echoed. Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I've been listening for 15 years, and I finally have something to say. Gasps rippled through the room as she approached the head of the table. Bramwell stood adjusting his tie. He managed a strained Ms. Alvarez. Maria held up her folder. This, she said, placing it on the table, is every bonus statement you ever approved for yourself, compared against the janitorial wage records you froze. And this, she tapped the contract papers, is my original partnership agreement signed 15 years ago. Victor sputtered. Those are private documents. Maria cut him off. Your arrogance isn't private. She turned to the board members, her tone gathering momentum. Every offhand insult, every policy that squeezed the lowest paid staff, those are on record. And today, I'm calling for a vote of no confidence. At that moment, the board secretary entered carrying the official shareholder ballot. Maria nodded. Please distribute these and record the results. I trust you all to do your duty. The room went silent as ballots were handed out. All the whispered contempt, every smirk at the elevator, now those judgments had to be answered in writing under oath of governance. And as the votes were cast one by one, the sound of paper on wood echoed like a verdict Innovex Tech's CEO was about to learn that invisibility isn't power, visibility is. Maria retreats to the deserted service corridor, heart pounding with the thrill of the unexpected victory at the reception desk. She leaves her mop cart where it stands and slips into the small maintenance office tucked behind the elevators. Inside, the fluorescent lights hum overhead as she powers up the terminal with credentials she had Elena provisioned weeks ago. This backdoor access is her secret weapon, the raw data no one expects a cleaning contract to wield. On screen, she pulls up the corporate database and exports 3 critical files, the full roster of Innovex shareholders. The compensation logs for C-suite executives over the past 5 years, and the HR incident reports flagged low priority. Each document scrolls past in stark rows of numbers and dates proof of boardroom self-dealing bonus spikes, synchronized with budget cuts to her own department, and complaints about workplace bias that were buried before they ever saw daylight. She prints the files on the office's idle laser printer, a stack of crisp pages she arranges by urgency. On top goes the shareholder ledger, her name in bold. Between Innovex's founders, a silent testament that she owns more equity than any living CEO. Below that, the bonus statements showing Victor Bramwell awarding himself $75,000 last quarter, while frontline cleaners saw their wages frozen. And, at the bottom, the HR log exposing Claire's repeated notifications that night. Staff do not require schedule accommodations, a direct violation of company policy, and a glaring example of discriminatory practice. With physical copies in hand, Maria clicks over to her messaging app and dials Dr. Samuel Chu Innovex's corporate counsel. His name pops up, and within seconds, his calm voice answers. "I'm ready," Maria says, her tone low but firm. "I have the shareholder registry, the compensation discrepancies, and the bias reports. I need an emergency board meeting reserved for 10 a.m. today in the executive suite. No excuses." Chu pauses only a moment before replying. "Understood. I'll secure the room and notify the board. I'll also prepare the notice of motion for a no confidence vote. I'll meet you there in 10 minutes. Maria ends the call and takes a breath, her pulse steadying now that the plan is in motion. Next, she steps out into the hall and approaches Greg, the concierge, who'd watched her assert herself at the front desk. He's polishing silverware at a service station, hands shaking as he recognizes the folder she carries. "Greg," she says quietly, "I need you to back up the front desk workstation logs from yesterday after hours. I want the audit trail showing who accessed the briefing schedule. Copy that to a USB and meet me in the cafe." He nods, face ashen, and rushes off, knowing this is no routine task. Meanwhile, Maria opens the door to the supply closet and retrieves her uniform jacket and cap. She lays aside her jumpsuit and replaces it with the navy blazer she folded under her mop bucket hours earlier. Her sneakers are still scuffed, but the blazer drapes her shoulders with a new authority. She pictures every disdainful glance she's endured, every dismissed request. Now all of it converges into a singular purpose. With Greg's USB drive tucked into her pocket, alongside her printed evidence, she makes one final stop, the small break room where the overnight custodial staff leave their personal logs. Maria picks up Cynthia's shift report notes about her son's accident and the denied day off and adds it to her stack. This intimate detail will serve as the human face of systemic injustice, a stark contrast to the dry numbers in her ledger. Her dossier complete, Maria walks into the glass-walled elevator and presses the button for the 10th floor boardroom. Each chime of the doors closing is a countdown to her revelation. When the doors open, she steps into the hushed hallway, where portraits of past CEOs line the walls. She pauses at Victor Bramwell's portrait, smiling arrogant, and exhales a slow, deliberate breath. At precisely 9:50 a.m., she enters the executive lounge where Dr. Chu and a small security detail are already waiting. They exchange nods. There's no time for nerves now. Chu hands her the legal notice, a motion of no confidence drafted and notarized, demanding an immediate vote. Maria slides her folder of evidence across the polished mahogany table. "This is the full record," she says softly. "Every breach of policy, every act of discrimination, every dollar taken from those who built this company. We start at 10. Chu glances at his watch. "I've convened the board and chairman. They'll be here any minute." He adds, "Security has been briefed. They'll ensure no one interferes." Maria closes her eyes and murmurs, "Thank you." She steps onto the foyer outside the boardroom doors and straightens her blazer. Her heart thrums with adrenaline, but her expression is calm, prepared, unyielding. She's not simply a mop pusher with a vendetta. She's Innovex Tech's majority owner, armed with irrefutable proof and the law on her side. At 10 a.m. on the dot, the doors open. Maria steps forward, Dr. Chu at her side, and addresses the assembled board. "Good morning," she begins, voice clear. "I am Maria Alvarez, majority shareholder of Innovex Holdings. You've ignored my presence for 15 years. Today, you will answer for every decision you made at my expense." She lays out her printed exhibits, one by one: the shareholder register, the bonus statements, the HR bias logs, Cynthia's personal file. Each board member looks on in shock, Some crush the papers beneath their palms, others stare as if they've wandered into a nightmare. Maria holds their gaze. I have here a motion for a no confidence vote in CEO Victor Bramwell, effective immediately. I trust you will record your votes with the gravity this company deserves. There's a beat of silence thick enough to taste. Then the board secretary steps forward, ballots in hand. Maria watches each paper slip into the box. Yes, 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 until the last vote is cast. The result is a verdict echoing through her veins, unanimity. Bramwell's fate is sealed. Maria allows herself a faint victorious smile. The plan has succeeded. Her revenge was methodical, strategic, and above all, just. As security escort Bramwell out, Maria gathers her files and follows every step, a testament to the power of patience evidence and the unbreakable resolve of a woman who refused to be invisible. In less than an hour, she turned prejudice into proof, exclusion into authority, and a cleaning shift into the moment. Innovex Tech learned that respect isn't given, it's owed to every person who keeps the foundations of a company intact. And now, with the CEO dismissed and the board accountable, Maria Alvarez stands at the threshold of a new era, one she'll shape with every page of her dossier and the unshakable truth of her ownership. By mid-morning, Maria had set the stage for her first public test, and she chose the cafe. Sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Innovex's employee bistro as she settled at a small table with her daughter Maya, who clutched a strawberry smoothie. They'd come early for breakfast croissants and fruit planning a quick bite before the real work began. No sooner had they sat than a sharply dressed investor named Randall Cho swept in flanked by two venture capital associates. He paused at the hostess stand and frowned on seeing Maya's bright pink jacket and Maria's scuffed sneakers. We'd prefer a quieter corner, he said, voice low but sharp. The hostess hesitated, glancing between Cho and Maria with a flicker of uncertainty. Cho tapped his leather-bound portfolio against the marble counter. I don't pay premiums to dine next to that. Maya's shoulders drooped. Maria took a steadying breath. She rose and moved between Cho and the hostess, announcing in clear, unwavering tones, Mr. Cho, your table is ready in the executive section. Please follow me. The hostess blinked. Cho's companion stiffened. Maria led them past gleaming espresso machines and clusters of seated engineers, none of whom dared move aside. They reached a velvet-roped alcove near the CEO's private entrance, where a reserved sign already bore Cho's name. Cho's face flushed. I wasn't aware this area was... Maria smiled politely. It's been prepared for you since 7 a.m., sir. She handed him a menu printed on heavy stock embossed with Innovex's chrome logo. The associates shuffled behind him, their eyes flickering from Maria's navy blazer to her plastic name tag, Maria Cleaning Services. Cho cleared his throat, gave a stiff nod, and slipped into the velvet-roped enclave, leaving Maya staring after him, confused but impressed. Maria returned to their table as Maya fought a triumphant grin. That was amazing, Mommy, she whispered. Maria nodded, her heart still pounding, not from fear, but from the sweet pulse of victory. Around them, other diners dared to glance. The cafe's usual hum of casual chatter had dipped to a hush. As they ate, Maria scanned the room. Noting reactions, a senior product manager pushed her breakfast tray aside to watch. Line cooks paused their plating. A barista wiped down a counter, but not before you saw her mouth. Wow. Maya finished her smoothie and bounded to her mother's side. Can I get a pancake? Maria ruffled her daughter's hair. Of course. Just as Maya charged off toward the pancake station, a young black software engineer approached the reception desk. His name tag read Liam Carter, and he carried a laptop bag slung across his shoulder. Good morning, he said politely to Claire. I'm here for the corporate security briefing section B at 10. Claire's expression hardened. She tapped at her keyboard, then looked up with forced calm. I'm sorry, but I don't see your name on the list. You'll need to wait for general sessions to begin. Liam's shoulders sagged. He apologized, stepped back, and reached for his phone. Claire barely glanced as herself turned back to clients. In that instant, Maria rose again. She walked over her boots, clicking on the marble floor. Claire froze. Maria gave her a courteous smile. "Mr. Carter," she said quietly but firmly, "please follow me." Liam looked at Maria with surprise. Claire's eyes flicked between them, lips pressed tight. Maria led Liam to the security desk at the cafe entrance. "He's scheduled under the corporate VIP rate," Maria told the uniformed guard. She showed the guard her phone screen and email from Elena confirming Liam's invitation under the Innovex corporate directory. The guard nodded and printed a new badge. Liam exhaled and thanked Maria profusely. As he walked past Claire, he paused and gave a small, grateful wave to Maria. Behind them, murmurs rippled through the reception area. Claire's cheeks burned, but she said nothing. Maria returned to the cafe table, Maya once more at her side. The barista handed Maya a stack of pancakes, gratis, no questions asked. By 11 a.m., the story had spread like wildfire. Staff in the corridors whispered, "Did you see that? She escorted Randall Cho. She's scheduling meetings now." That was the engineer who got bounced. Every elevator ride crackled with speculation. Bellhops held doors with impeccable timing. Security guards straightened their posture when she passed. Even the custodial staff, once invisible to the rest, shared knowing glances as she moved by. Maria and Maya spent a moment by the lobby's indoor waterfall, Maya tracing the fingerprints on the glass with tiny fingertips. Maria placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. Ready for the next part, Maya nodded, eyes wide with excitement. But Maria's next move was strategic, not theatrical. She escorted Maya to a quiet corner where she pulled out her phone. A secure group chat with Elena Gregg and Dr. Chu lit up with messages Elena Boardroom confirmed. All evidence uploaded to Legal Drive. Gregg workstation logs transferred and printed. We have Claire's cleared entries. Dr. Chu motion drafted. Execution scheduled at 10 a.m. Next meeting. Maria typed back meeting location. Elena replied, Executive Lounge, 3rd floor. Security on standby. With that, Maria tucked her phone away and guided Maya to the seating area near the lobby's grand staircase. "Stay here," she told her daughter. "Mom will be right back." Maya gave a serious nod and settled onto a plush bench, clutching her pancakes like a treasure. Maria strode to the CEO's office wing, where the polished plaques and platinum accolades lined the corridor. Security cameras rotated, but none focused on her until she deliberately stepped into their blind spot. She paused at one of the darkened conference rooms, once the site of secret late-night meetings, where she'd overheard Bramwell plotting wage freezes. Now that room was empty. She slipped inside, switched on the lights, and left a single printed sheet on the table. Evidence file, executive compensation versus janitorial wages. Next, she moved to the HR department, where she found a stack of employee feedback surveys on a side table. She rearranged them to highlight the dozens of bias complaints filed by night shift staff, and left an envelope labeled to HR Director, Mandatory Review. Then she paused at the front desk once more and calmly retrieved her mop cart, wheeling it down the corridor, as if nothing had changed.